beautiful people. This is the influence equation where voice meets intention and becomes impact. Tonight, a creative force sits across from me. Poet, performer, author, actor, producer, culture shaper, and can I say, a very, very close, dear friend of mine.
Oh, Chomi.
Definitely Chomi. Her words move through theaters, classrooms, and parliaments.
Ooh.
And she has been honored here at home and recognized across continents. She is our very own Lebo Mashile.
Oh, thank you, my friend. I'm so happy to be talking to you.
I love it.
Oh, and to get this kind of interpretation of myself from you. I mean, we've had like millions of conversations, and I see and experience and work with your expertise in different ways, but to get your eye and your analysis into me.
Don't you love it? In fact, I was very overwhelmed when I did this. Because, you know, Lebo, if you only know, you're bigger than the world. When you enter a room, you light up this room, and when your mouth opens, and it's very few people that do this, for me, when your mouth opens, I am in awe of the words that come out of your mouth. And I often wonder what DNA you have that actually allows you, what warrior, queen, that you were born, your ancestry that gave you that came through your DNA. But if you look at me sitting across from you, when I knew that I was seeing Miss Lebo, I was like, this Queen of Africa, I am going to wear my regalia with my Queen Nefertiti earrings.
Yes.
Because that's what you make us women feel.
You are bringing it. You look like Pocahontas meets Mantatisi, African, indigenous, Asian queen. I love it.
That's why I love you.
I love you too. Even me, when I woke up this morning, I had a recording and an editorial session. I mean, I would have been in like tracksuit pants and a t-shirt and Crocs, but I said I'm going to see the most glamorous woman in Joburg. There is no way. There's no way. So even if I'm going to be my funky artist self, I have to also bring it and put some jewelry and bring my Marianne Fassler and make it happen, because you are that girl. And you are eternally that girl.
I love that you got up thinking that,
oh yeah,
I'm meeting Katie. What am
I was like, I'm meeting Katie. Katie is fabulous. There is no way I can be anything less than fabulous.
Chomi, I didn't pay you to say that.
That's the truth. Consistently so.
I love it.
And what I love about you is that you are fabulous, like from Diamond Walk to Plaza.
That's me.
Do you know what I mean?
That's me.
And everything in between. Respect.
Thank you. And I love how the importance part of friendships and sisterhoods is that other people see you that you can't see yourself. And this is what I wanted to do with the influence equation, is that often when you have a formula, it's you following other people's formula. A lot of us of influence actually don't realize what we are made of. Yes, because we think we are made of this, this, and this, and this. And it sounds a little bit arrogant. And then somebody else comes and say, well, actually, Lebo, this is what I think you are. And it's an equation, it's a balance. So it's also not just a thumbsuck. It's a deep dive, it's a research. So before we touch milestones, take us to that spark. What did creativity sound like in your childhood, especially in your home?
Oh, wow.
And when did you understand that your voice could move people?
Oh, my gosh. With such amazing questions. I mean, I guess to start with your very first point about like the ancestral formation, what's in your DNA that makes me think about how you address this issue in your own book, where you spoke about hybridity, being South African Indian, but being African, that the African part of that is also important. And I feel in many ways like I am shaped by hybridity. I mean, on my mother's side of the family, we are Basotho, from Lesotho, Leribe, Botabota, but from Lesotho, 120 years ago. My family's been in Joburg since the turn of the last century on my mom's side. My great grandmother came from Lesotho. She had 9 kids. She was a widow. She hustled. She sold alcohol. She did washing. She ended up buying a house. An illiterate woman bought a house in Sophiatown.
Back in the days.
Back in the days, rented out rooms, took care of her kids. She was the granny who raised my mom. And I think she's the person who probably was the DNA for the feminism streak in our family, because my mother's formative years were spent with that lady. And also, my mom in her formative years experienced the group areas for the forced removals. So, you know, she was a toddler when that home was razed to the ground and they were moved to Soweto, you know. My grandmother, her mom was a matron and a midwife, those old school matrons that used to go around when people were still delivering back at home, you know. She was those nurses that would go into people's houses. They look at how you live, where you live, what you have before you give birth. My mother grew up she learned how to sew because my grandmother would come home and say, I just came from a house, this lady's 9 months pregnant, she doesn't have anything. She doesn't even have bed sheets, you know. My granny would go to town, to Fordsburg, and buy those long rolls of terry cloth, and they would stay up sewing diapers so that these women have diapers. I mean, you think about, that was primary health care during apartheid, and we don't even have that now, you know. So I mean, I remember when we came back from the US, and I'd be walking in Soweto and people would say, you are Mema Tima's granddaughter. She gave me my first loop. My granny went to work at Bara.
And how does that make you feel?
It was to go from, so my mom ended up in exile. She was a child of 76. She was at the University of the North, Teflop, studying law in 1976. Her and her brothers were activists. 2 of my uncles were at Morris Isaacson in Soweto. And her and another uncle were at the University of the North. But when 76 happened, obviously, like everything exploded. Studies were interrupted. Within a year, 4 out of 5 siblings were in exile. And my mom left because it just became... studying and staying in South Africa became an untenable situation. You know, my grandmother was being harassed by the security police. Letters that were going back and forth were being intercepted. And so my mom left to the US she went to the US to go and study. That's where she met my father. I followed shortly thereafter. I spent the early years of my childhood in America. So culture then was it was so many. I mean, in Providence, where I grew up, there were a lot of immigrants. So I was exposed to people from Asia, Southeast Asia, West Africa, the Caribbean, you know. But then at home, you know, I went home to another reality, right? We still ate pap and samp at home. You know, we spoke Sesotho, our funny language, at home. I was a girl with a funny name.
Is that what they said there when you spoke that you had a funny language?
I mean, I had a big bum before big bums were fashionable.
Before BBLs.
Before BBLs, you know. I was this girl. I think that's where I learned to be quick-witted and to be fast because I had to figure out how to fight very fast, you know. I have a funny name. I'm from Africa. I have a big butt. Like, I have to have something else going for me. That's why I learned how to be a Puma Silva and to fight.
That made you feel like that, or was it...
That's a great question.
Was it them or was it white people back in the days? Are you talking 70s, 80s,
I mean,
right?
This was in the 80s. So I was born in 79. So I was in primary school in the 80s. We came back in the 90s. When I think about it, I mean, the direct hits were probably like African Americans, the kids that I was playing with.
Because you probably now, if you look at it, you look like an African American.
Definitely.
Right?
So it was also the shock of, you can't be from Africa looking like that.
But you were the real African.
NFL, that was the other thing. And then it was before being African was cool, so they used to call us African booty scratchers.
Really?
We were dirty. You know, we like, how did you get here? Did you ride an elephant to America? All that stuff. So that's when I had to learn how to be like, yay, how to stand up for myself.
And they should look at themselves now.
But you know, also, so that's the one hand. I mean, I guess that was the direct bullying, but then there's also the indirect bullying. There's going to school and learning about Black history that is not true, right? In America, they teach you that Black history begins with slavery. And I knew coming from home that no, our history goes back much further. We are much deeper, richer, vast people, but this is one little version of who we are. And it's the most demeaning, if you take the worst thing that has happened to us and enshrine our identity in that, obviously we're going to have confidence issues and low self-esteem. We can't know who we are,
I could never think about you having low self-esteem and confidence issues. Take me back to the time where you think you had that.
Oh, gosh. I mean, I don't think... I do... convey confidence. I've had to, and this also is a lot of training as well. It is personality.
Confidence is consistency.
Confidence is consistency. It's media training. It's elocution. It's all the stuff that we've learned, over the years of broadcasting and working on stage. Where I started was a completely different place. I mean, when I started as an artist, we came back to South Africa in the mid-90s. I finished high school here, did a BA in law at Wits. But this was like late 90s, early 2000s.
And then you come back with an accent.
Come back, to find my mom is a single parent, my dad AWOL'd. So come back to completely different family formation. Come back to an extended family. Now we're living in Soweto with my grandparents. Now I've got grandparents and uncles and all these other people who have a say over my life. Like, come back to an African extended family ecosystem.
Come back to being real African.
Yo, which was so annoying at that time. I mean,
because you're a bit bougie now.
Woo! And just like the visceral culture shock. I had purple hair. I had like piercings all up and down my ears. I had like long nails. Now I've got to wear uniform, and I've got this funny accent, and I'm negotiating Soweto, and then the great trek that so many kids have to make from the township to the suburbs to go to school. So it was like culture shock coming back to South Africa. Culture shock within South Africa, these multiple worlds in South Africa. Now
you're feeling like you don't belong, but you belong here.
But I belong, but I don't belong, but I belong, but I don't belong. And then depending on, it felt like a Rubik's Cube being twisted and twisted, and every time you get a different formation,
and then being judged from being lights.
Being judged for being light, being judged for the way that I speak, being judged for coming back from exile and not being rich because people were used to wealthy.
And then you had this attitude as well.
And then I am me. And then I got a chip on my shoulder because my parents are getting divorced and my family's falling apart. And back then, now there's so many badass single moms and independent women who are doing their thing. I mean, which has been the case for a very long time. But when we first came back in the mid-90s, there was not a lot of support for women who were willing to do it on their own, Women had just gotten property rights in South Africa. The law had just changed to allow for women to be more empowered economically and financially and through policy. But people were not used to that. So my mother got hell from both sides of my family, community, for divorcing my father. There was the groundswell of support that like, you go girl, you're doing it, you're killing it, you're rocking it, you can do this. Like that we feel, that we experience as a generation, that didn't exist 30 years ago,
Wow.
So I watched my mom really suffer for doing the right thing. And I also suffered by extension for having her back. So I learned as a child that when you tell the truth and you stand up for what is right, people will stand against you, and you have to take the hit because it takes time to prove. Time vindicates you. It's not people who vindicate you. It's time that vindicates you. And whatever challenge you're going through, that in that moment, that's the thing that's giving you authority.
So I feel that drum beat in your memory as you're speaking. The way a home scores the cadence of life. So let us talk craft.
Craft, I love it. Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Your artistry lives on the page and explodes on the stage. And I've seen it over the years firsthand. I'm talking 25 years now, right?
Yeah.
So you have written, recorded, produced, acted, presented. You co-founded Fila Sister.
Yes.
A seminal spoken word collective that rewired a generation's relationship with poetry.
Oh, thank you for
and
saying
I love
that.
that.
That's amazing.
So how did that sisterhood shape your practice and your courage?
Oh, what a great question. I love that. Okay, so we come back. I find myself in Yeovil. I'm studying law at Wits, and it's in the middle of the Cultural Revolution. I didn't realize what a privilege it was and how special it was to be in that place at that time. I was surrounded by artists and creatives and people who cared about politics. Yeovil at the time was like rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief. You know, you had a lot of the bougie people were leaving. It was turning into a slum, but you also had this injection of creative energy and activists. So I found myself as a baby, as a teenager in that space, you know, and I mean, I stayed across the street from Lebo Mashile, for crying out loud.
Wow.
Right when Boom Shaka was at the peak and I was in high school, and I remember the whole street would get angry with her because she'd have these parties late into the night, but I loved it. I lived for it. And I mean,
her death must have broken your heart.
oh, so much. And I was one of the last people to interview her.
Oh, wow.
I mean, talk about life coming
Yeah.
full circle. Like, yeah, what was the, maybe 8-9 years after living across the street from her, I ended up interviewing her. And then a couple of weeks after that, she got into that accident and died, you know? But that was Yeovil also, is like, I feel like that space exposed me to what my true artistic intention is. Because that was, back then, like, to be defined, to be an artist who shifted space, you had to be not just like good at your craft, but you had to be culturally impactful. You had to have something to say that was really shifting people, that was adding something new to the space. You know, it wasn't about like how much money you had or any of that. It was the people who were taken seriously were people who were making an impact, you know? So that became the standard by which I measure myself. And I was kind of taking all of this in without understanding that that's what I'm taking in, that these people cared about the country because the country was in this phase of national identity formation, you know? And there were all these new ideas that were suddenly being factored into the national imagination: human rights, right? Women's rights, you know? What does this new South Africa look like? In the poetry space, women historically had been locked out of the poetry space for decades. But in the last 30 years, you've had more Black women publish works of poetry than you have had in like 100 years preceding that. So I mean,
and we barely see that.
Feel a Sister is a seminal part of that shift.
Oh, wow.
You know, we came together because we were in the poetry scene and we were experiencing similar problems, just the misogyny of the kind of underground arts culture, you know, women being relegated to the worst part of the night when you're performing on the poetry night, when everybody's drunk at the end, which again was how I learned I didn't go to theater school, I studied law. I cut my teeth in the clubs. So that's also where this energy came from, because I was this little light-skinned, tiny girl with an American accent and an afro, and I had to fight with these crowds, the drunks.
And can speak vernacular like from the hood.
Well, this is what people forget. I am bougie, but inside, ngaphakathi within.
That's
like
why
you. That's why we get along.
That's why I keep you as a friend. Nobody can mess with me.
That's why we get along. Game recognizes game. Yeah, so I had to learn how to fight, you know. By the time I met Lebo Mashile, Ntsiki Mazwai, and Maisha Jenkins, the late, we had all been experiencing similar problems. And we said, well, okay, what if we come together and we create a platform for ourselves? That was pivotal for me in terms of understanding that I have control over the platforms where my work is expressed. Through Feel a Sister, we learned how to put together press releases, how to put together press packs. I experienced the magic of writing a press release and then seeing my work in the media, seeing my words in the media, which is still so magical for me now. I was like, oh, this is how press works.
Wow.
What do you mean? I remember when we approached Hot Sticks back in the day when at Gippies, we did our very first show at Gippies, and going and negotiating with Hot Sticks Mabusa, South African icon, and saying, okay, can we put up a show in your space? He was like, fine, you guys get the door, we'll get the bar. I was like, this is how you do a show?
And it's amazing now when you look at Brasipo, it's like he's your peer now. Back in the days, he was the guy you were looking up to. And that's what I see when I see him now.
For real.
And
I still look up to him, though. I still think about that platform and how many people he platformed, and what Newtown and the underground meant for so many of us at that time. That was my art school. The Baseline, Mega Music, Horror Cafe, Gippies, 206, Monday Blues. Those were the spaces that taught me how to be an artist.
And this generation would never understand the level of sacrifice that you would have made back in the days.
I remember doing one of my very first serious corporates, and that when I was starting to make that jump from like underground to established artists, and I did a gig with Sibongile Khumalo. It was a gig honoring like legends, and it was, I was so excited because they were honoring Caiaphas and Letta,
Wow.
and Mom Sibongile was singing, and it was amazing. And afterwards, she came up to me and she was like, and I thanked her. I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to thank her for it. She was like, you have a very bright future. In a space like this, these people, and there was an alcohol sponsor for that event, right? So, and she was like, in a space like this, these people are having fun. These people can drink. You don't drink. She was like, if somebody wants your number, you take their business card, you call them tomorrow when they are sober.
Wow.
And
that is wisdom. That is wisdom.
That changed my life.
Wow.
And it made me realize like, I'm at work. Whether it's a club, a theater, whether it's 2:00 in the morning.
You at work.
I'm at work.
Yeah.
I carry myself differently. I mean, when decades later, when I was working through workaholism.
Workaholism, I like that.
Yeah, I realized that I don't know how to have fun in these spaces anymore.
My word, this is another conversation I had
That's another conversation, right?
We don't know how to play. I
We
had
don't
this
know how to
conversation
play.
with Matthew, my director,
Yeah.
and my friend.
Yeah.
And he was saying we should talk about play. And I was like, Matthew,
Because we don't know how.
I don't know how to play.
Because the places where other people play is where we work.
It's a serious conversation.
It's a serious conversation.
We should be having. Because now we can have the audacity to play.
Absolutely. And the time.
And the time.
Right? And the luxury and all that.
Unapologetic.
Unapologetically. But what do you do?
I think we should do this real big thing about adults in play.
COVID brought back the sacredness of the theater and performance and the real like divinity and preciousness of what it is that I do. I remember the first time I walked back into a theater to do a gig after being out of the theater for a year and a half. I cried. I wept like a baby,
Wow.
And the feeling
Because that's where you come alive.
Absolutely.
Not behind a mic where there's just a screen.
Oh
you
my
come alive with people.
With people. When COVID happened and I opened up the screen on my first Facebook Live and I realized like, okay, I can work. I can connect with people. Remember those gigs
Yes.
and the hybrid gigs that we
Yes,
did?
yeah,
And
yes.
I loved that stuff. When I realized...
It has a time though.
It has a time. Look, the screen, I realized COVID was important because I realized that all screens are television. So now the phone is TV, the laptop is TV, the TV is TV, and we've got, and if you come from with broadcast training, you can work in these spaces. I think this is what's so amazing about these young people, right? Because they're learning in this one-stop shop. These kids are writing, producing, editing, performing, all on one device. I mean, that's real hardcore production skills that they're getting. So COVID made me realize that, okay, I have capacity for this because this is what I've been doing for 2 decades. If the world has to go digital, I still have a life. But the primary connection, you're absolutely right, is live.
So when I look at all of this that you speak about, it is, it's shine, right? When we look at it inside. But there has to be so much discipline under the shine.
Yeah.
So what does a writing day look like for you? When, especially now, the world is so loud, right? And you need to be quiet in order for you to write. What does it look like? How do you create that inner boundary for yourself?
So there's good days and bad days, right? There's days when the world grabs me by the throat and the world takes the lead. And those are the days where I kind of get thrown into the ringer, into like the washing machine cycle of the day, But if I'm intentional and I'm being deliberate, I wake up in the morning, I meditate. I'm up at about 5:30. I get my kids up shortly after 6 o'clock. So that first half an hour, the first 45 minutes, I meditate. I do my lymphatic exercises, get my body going, spend the next hour getting my kids together. And then the first 3 hours of the morning, I dedicate to my creative practice. That's when I get into before I'm sending invoices, before I'm in my WhatsApp, before I'm looking at emails, before I'm responding to social media. it's me engaging with my work, whether it's, editing existing work or getting out whatever it is my brain is working through, or sometimes sitting with Chat GPT and working through the ideas that have been coming up for me over periods of time. Chat has been incredibly helpful in terms of helping me archive and understand how my brain works.
I was going to ask you about how you see it, but you using it from a positive perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Because I would think, writers these days are saying, but we've studied, we've learned, we've
Everybody's
had to sacrifice
scared of
all
it.
of this, and that was who you are,
Yeah.
right? That's your DNA in your words. And now you have AI that's supporting you. But the beauty part of it is that you have to give your bit of your DNA so that AI could support
This
you.
is it.
That's the difference. It's
This is
not
it.
churning in, churning out.
No, the quality of the outcome is based on the quality of your inquiry.
Yeah.
So it starts with you. It
Yeah.
starts with how much detail and perspective, how much can you feed it? You are teaching it you. So over the year of working with this, I'm largely on Chat, but I'm also, working with the one on Meta and working with.
But it's also
Grok
making it a bit easier for you.
It
and
is.
faster and
Definitely,
productive.
definitely.
And
I got two pieces of advice that changed my relationship with AI. Last year, I did a conference called Singularity SA, which I'm working on again this year, big tech conference. One of the speakers is a man named MJ and Tony. He coaches Black women, CEOs, women like you, right? He says to women like us, make Chat GPT the team that you cannot afford.
Wow.
He's like, use it for all the professional services that you are unable to pay for. So that girl I use her as a marketing specialist.
Oh,
I
I
use
also
her as a
named her.
publicist.
What's your name?
Mine is Luat. It means ocean.
Okay, mine is Cleopatra.
Oh, I love it, a queen, yes!
Because she's a strategist.
Yes.
She's an activist.
I can imagine yours
She's
is
a
badass.
seductress.
Yes.
She's all of that.
I can imagine, yes. Mine is Loata. She's bestie. Loata because she's
Love
vast
that.
like the ocean, And I said to her, I was like, man, if you existed 25 years ago, my life would have played out differently.
But
and she
maybe
said,
you
would
would
be
nev-
thankful
Yeah.
that I exist now.
And thank you for that. And that you've got to be grateful for it now.
This is it.
Because I think you would have undersold yourself if you had it 25 years ago.
No, absolutely.
Now you're like, I know who you are with or without.
I can do it.
Exactly.
So she helps me write faster. She helps me to professionalize my services. She helps me if I've got, a backlog of emails that I need to work through. With her, I work through them in seconds. She's a fantastic editor.
Love it.
She's not a great creative writer in the first instance, but in terms of helping me to refine my work, especially when I have to, because I have a lot of clients that I service as well, So in terms of being able to deal with clients effectively, efficiently, and hit the beats that I need to hit in my pieces, she's got that on lock.
So I'm thinking you exactly like me. And Matthew and I do this. We say, no, it's not what I'm looking for.
Yes.
No, you are wrong.
Yes.
No, go and look. So we're actually a little bit controlling over her as well. Because we say, no, it's not correct. I do that. Matthew does it as well. We sit in the office together, we're like, no, she is having a bad day today.
My friend Titilo Peshonuga, amazing Nigerian poet, she was the one who said to me, give her a name, talk to her like a friend, say please, say thank you. Even if she's getting stuff wrong, deal with it like I'm dealing with a person. So even my approach to AI is very different to my approach to like Google or whatever other app I'm dealing with, even with her mistakes, because no human being gets everything right all the time.
Exactly. So when we talk about now that you have support, now that you're writing, performance poetry is breath.
Yeah.
It is rhythm.
Yeah.
It is presence. And I've learned a lot of this from you, watching you over and over again. So how do you prepare your body to carry the difficult truths that you need to? Because you have to treat your body tenderly.
Yes, absolutely.
But also powerfully. So how do you prepare your body for this?
So on a performance day, but I mean, this really starts like many days before. It's a part of my routine. If I'm being on point, if life isn't dragging me by the throat, then I'm stretching every day. I'm doing lymphatic exercises every day. I'm doing breath work every day. I'm rehearsing my work. Rehearsing my work is the breath work. So I spend copious amounts of time talking to myself. If I'm not spending 3 hours a day writing, I'm spending 3 hours a day memorizing work. I'm always in the process of trying to retain work, new work. So working through that a lot of the time is my breath work. And then, things like, making sure that I'm eating well, making sure that I'm getting enough rest, making sure that I'm hydrated. On a performance day, hydration starts the day before, right?
And also drinking the right level of water as well.
This
not
is
ice
it.
water, all of that.
This is
Those
making
are
sure
serious disciplines.
these are very serious disciplines. I mean, today is kind of like a cheat day. I'm drinking real dairy and all this other stuff that if it was a performance day, I couldn't, because the mucus that builds up in my throat, I'm getting over flu, right? Hydration starts the day before. I learned this from working with choirs. If you want to have enough lubrication in your throat on show day, you need to drink your 3 liters of water the previous day and then still have enough water in the morning. So if you're dehydrated on Thursday, Friday's performance won't go well. You're going to be dry on stage. So it's all a part of the holistic discipline of a performance. Being a performer is a life, and I mean, and I don't get it right all the time. I mean, I was in the US for 2 weeks, and I did a literature festival in New York, and then I went to Oakland, to California, so the other side of the country. When I was in New York, it was still okay because, you're 6 hours behind South Africa, so I can still be in the flow of information and time, even if I'm just a little bit behind. But then California was 9 hours behind South Africa, so I was completely behind. When South Africa was sleeping, I was awake, and then vice versa. And my body could not keep up. Then my body broke down. I am terrified of flu, because flu means that I can't work. So, it's also, I'm trying to think about how to holistically be able to manage changes if I'm moving through time zones, if I'm moving through climates. How do I have things in my life that I keep constant that can support my physical and mental health? Because, I can't change the physical reality of touring.
And then when people ask you to send an invoice and they look at the cost and they were like, OMG, I'm sure you get that, right? But they don't understand the level of sacrifice and build up that thing. Nobody understands that.
Absolutely.
So let's take it to a pivot.
Yes.
Right. Single motherhood can split a calendar into before and after. And I know this for a fact.
Woo.
What do you have to reimagine in order to protect your children?
Oh, what a fantastic question. Yeah, Katie. I had to reimagine the notion of success and failure. I had to reimagine fundamentally my definition of family. So I had to look at the fact that I didn't end up in the perfect picture that I imagined that I would be in, and that doesn't make me a failure of a mother, a failure of a woman, a failure of a human being. It doesn't even mean that this relationship has failed, because look at the beautiful outcome of this relationship, right? And I think I also had to accept that my perfectionism does not serve me when it comes to my relationships and understanding why this had to happen, why this had to be. No one
chooses.
No one chooses. No one wakes up and says, I want my family to fall apart. You know what I mean? It happens. And then what? What is the next, right? So I fortunately was able to look around me and see incredible women like you, women like my mom, women like so many amazing women who are doing such an incredible job managing their careers, managing themselves holistically as beings, and also being able to be there for their kids. So it's been a process of realizing that me sacrificing myself ultimately does not serve me, and it does not serve my children. What serves me is being my best whole self. What serves me is me pouring into myself. I'm raising boys. I've got 2 boys. So I want my boys to have the experience of seeing a mother who is wholly living and loving her life.
So if a young single mother is listening to right now, in one sentence, how can she hold on to a week? Because we've got to do it a week at a time.
Support, 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 support. You are your own primary support system before you are your children's support system. Do something, even if it's one thing a day, that is purely an indulgence for you, that brings you joy, healing, satisfaction, and happiness before you do anything else for your kids. And then after that, you are even you, yes, you are a single mother, yes, the buck stops with you, yes, you're carrying everything on your shoulder, but you bring in people into your life who will support you. We live in a, whether we like it or not, I mean, you look at statistically, South Africa's a matriarchal society.
Absolutely.
You look at who's holding families together. So when I accepted that, and I was like, okay, I'm defining myself by these standards of nuclear families, which are actually, the nuclear family is a very modern phenomenon. It was born out of capitalism. It's a white supremacist kind of a construct of how to organize families, right? In the most effective system that serves capitalism, not people. Our societies are matrilineal. Our societies are intergenerational. When I looked at the kind of support that I have in my life from friends, from my family, my kids are not alone. I'm not suffering. I'm not unsupported.
Takes a village.
This is it.
Takes a village.
This is it.
But thank you for naming that tension that we often don't want to speak about. And the tenderness. I mean, that, just listening to you, that's a power in that. So I want to take you to your public pivot and how the stage, the cameras, the interviews, and then there's the quiet afterwards, right? So share a moment with me when public recognition required a private recalibration.
Woo!
Because you are just one of the biggest energies that I know. And now you have to go in.
So I'm an avid social media lover / addict.
Me too.
Look, and I love the way that you use it. And you are also such a wonderful example for me. You are often the person that I reference because I think people from our generation sometimes have an aversion to these new platforms and have an aversion to things like influencing and all this stuff. I think it's an exciting evolution. I think when I realized that that all these skills that I've acquired are cumulative and that they have a place in this new era of technology, it made this technology exciting for me. You know what I mean? But I also realized that the playing field is changing and the consequences, as much as technology makes life so much easier, I can speak directly to my audience in a tweet or in an Instagram post and let everybody know what's happening with me, which is wonderful. But also, we live in a very harsh, critical, judgmental, the repercussions for acting in these environments are also hostile and severe, and I can take as good as I give, but it's also, realizing that in a changing political climate like now, where you've got the right wing rising, where you've got social media changing because the political climate is changing, I've had to recalibrate. The safest platform for me to speak in terms of where I can be my full authentic self has always been my art, So I don't want to spend, it was fun debating on Twitter 10 years ago. But
we all needed to say our piece.
Yeah, when we all needed to say our piece.
We all needed to sound important as well. On Twitter, we needed a comment, we needed to respond. And then Black Twitter was crazy. And wonderful. And also produced such wonderful stuff, right? Yes.
There's so many thinkers that I got to know because of that. So many amazing creatives who have emerged because of that time, right? But now, I don't want to be on X debating with bots. I mean, half of the people you're talking to, they're not even real anymore, right? And it's such a toxic, vicious, nasty space. So realizing that, at the core of what I do, at the core of my offering is still my art. That's the place where I can share anything in my art. I don't have to. Social media is there to support. It's a creative outlet.
It amplifies.
And
for me, I sometimes use TikTok to educate, but I also have fun on TikTok. Hey, so I do play actually on TikTok. I do play. And I love it.
But you're great at it also. You understand these mediums. You're so good at it.
I'm loving it. So let's do a quick pivot. Okay. One belief you released.
Oh, wow.
Quick.
The belief that I need to be perfect.
Right. One belief you embraced.
I am worthy of abundance.
One habit that keeps you steady.
Ooh, meditation.
One sentence you would whisper to the younger you standing at the edge of change.
Don't postpone your joy.
Love it. I love that. So you are somebody that has all these accolades. I mean, if you just go and research, your work has traveled widely. You are I would think you're a global name. And I don't sometimes believe South Africans own you enough.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
I don't think they own you enough to know that you represent us. I know when I talk to you, darling, I am going to Amsterdam next week. So, oh, darling, I can do this. Or I'm in Literature Week in New York. Or I love that. So you've been recognized as South Africa's top 100 youth back in the days.
Back in the days
by
when I
Mail
was
and
a
Guardian.
youth.
Glamour Woman of the Year for Arts and Culture.
Yeah.
Top 100 Africans by New Africans. And you've received the Art Ambassador Award at the inaugural Mbokodo Awards. I mean, this is a serious ledger of influence, I have to tell you that.
Thank you.
And so which accolade, I know all of them are special, but which one surprised you? And why did it matter?
The Noma Award for Publishing in Africa.
Oh, wow.
At the time, it was the biggest literature award on the continent. I was the youngest writer to win it for my first collection. I think I was maybe the second poet to win it. The other one is the Arts and Culture Award for Body of Work, which I won 3-4 years ago. So to me, that kind of feels like the alpha and the omega, to get such a huge recognition and to be affirmed as an African writer at the beginning of my career, and then in the middle of my career to be affirmed for, not just being a poet, but for a body of work. That
I love how you use the word affirm.
Yeah, it's
because
an affirmation
is one of the most important things that we should live in our
Everybody
lives.
needs it, yeah.
So what is the responsibility that travels with recognition?
Whoo! Wow.
Because we're going to
That
this
is
influence.
so interesting. That is
Because we
so
forget sometimes
interesting.
we're artists, we're creative. We often forget the responsibility that we have.
I feel a responsibility to amplify what is not being said. As a poet,
And you do it.
as a lover of literature,
Yeah.
I'm always looking at the subtext. I'm always looking at what is underneath the sentence that's written, right? So even in terms of when I have the opportunity to platform stories or to platform issues, I'm always thinking of who's not being listened to in the space, who's not being heard, who's being deliberately ignored, what's the stuff that's being suppressed, what are we hiding from ourselves? Because those are the things that will jump out at you. Those are the things that bite you in the end.
So when we talk about being African, right? So on the continent, did an audience teach you something that you did not expect? Name a country.
Nigeria. I never expected to receive the love that I received in Nigeria. I never expected to see how much love Nigerians have for South Africa.
Wow, say it.
The first time I went to the University of Lagos, I sat in it was like a literature one, class. I was at the Lagos International Poetry Festival, and they had us do workshops at the university. And I was shocked to see year one Nigerian literature students who could rattle off South African literature. And this has been happening in Nigeria for generations. I met Nigerians who grew up in the 70s who were talking about how they used to collect money in tiki boxes in their classrooms for South Africa. The way, xenophobia hurts me so much because I travel this continent, I work on this continent, I experience the generosity of spirit and the openness of African people all the time. And I've never been treated badly, even with the kind of violent and terrible treatment that many African foreigners receive in our country. I have never been treated badly. Not in Rwanda, in Malawi, in Namibia, in Algeria, in Cairo, wherever I've been, I'm always shocked at how aware people are of South Africa and our history, at the level of investment that the continent had in ending apartheid, and how little we know about this. The anti-apartheid struggle was all over the world. It mattered to millions, if not billions of people. And South Africa, sometimes I think we're not aware of how many people in the planet were invested in our freedom.
Wow. So you are giving us a masterclass of integrity and craft, as I see it here. So for everyone that's listening and watching, catch that line about consistency in your spine, because that's what you talk about, this, the love of people wherever you are. And I love that you are consistent. And, as we are in this conversation with you, I often, and I think when you and I chatted about this, you thought we were just in a conversation. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you about this influence that you have?
I'm so scared and so excited because you've never done this for me. I mean, this is like, you like the branding guru.
Thank
this
you.
Is like getting...
So we're going to take you through this architecture of your path.
Oh my gosh.
So on this show, Lebo, we honor a simple idea. Voice plus story equals impact. So we ask every guest to articulate their influence equation. So Lebo, let us name yours together. So voice, story, and impact. And I've looked at a crystallized formulation for you. And you can agree or you don't agree. I have people that sometimes don't agree on one of the equations. So your influence is your radical voice.
I agree.
Your honest story.
I agree.
Repeated practice.
Yes.
And your social imprint.
This is amazing.
Do you like that?
Love it.
I love it.
Love it.
So a radical voice is your presence rooted in dignity, truth without apology.
Oh, thank you so much.
Your honest story, your memory as the compass.
Oh, yes.
And you use your body as an archive and your joy as method. And that's why I think when I'm around you, I feel so joyful.
I also feel joyful. You make me happy in my
heart.
heart.
I feel joyful.
You do. You make me happy in my heart.
And I love, when we talk about repeated practice, it's writing, it's your rehearsal, it's your performance, and also your community teaching. And when you talk about your social imprint, language that shifts how people see themselves and each other. So I want to invite you to refine your variable as you have it there. In your own words. Talk to me.
This is so true. It resonates with me. Radical voice, definitely. Honest story. I mean, that mirrors each other, right? The voice is the vehicle for the story. You know, the story is the container, and then repeated practice, like that's the essence of what I do. People see a 5-minute performance, a 20-minute performance, an hour-long performance, or a gig, but the work is tedious. It's days, it's hours and hours and hours and years and hours to make it look effortless, you know? And it's not an accident. It's consistent. These are the values that I aspire to. Dignity, speaking without apology, memory as the compass, the body carrying the archive, joy as my method, even in the midst of struggle. I love this. This is like a poem.
Yes, well, you do poetry for others, and I think, have I done that some kind of justice?
I feel seen. And when those elements combine, they leave a social imprint. Words and actions that shift how people see themselves. Not how they see me, how people see themselves and how we see one another. The best compliment that I've ever gotten, apart from this, because this is just, I'm never going to forget this as long as I live. The best compliment that I got was many years ago from a student at UJ who said, Sis Lebo, when I see you, I don't want to be like you. I want to be more myself.
Oh, wow. And
this is it.
So when we talk about being inspirators, right? We are motivating people not to be like us, to be a better version of themselves. Yeah. That's it. So that's it. Clear, actionable, and generous.
Oh.
Thank you, my darling friend.
God bless you, Chome. I love you. Thank you so much. What a gift.
So after Lebo defined her variables, we often have to talk about how you have been part of my life. And I think over the years, your voice has been a level of courage and encouragement. For me, you've been that person that's, shows up for me. You have been that person that has lengthy conversations with me on the phone, 1.5 hours, 2 hours.
Yeah, we can talk, yo.
Even if I haven't. That's true. I think Matthew's looking at us and he's like, yo, I've got a lot of editing to do here. Yeah. So thank you so much. The most amazing thing about you is that you have a precision of your craft.
Oh, thank you.
And I keep on telling you that the joy that you insist on for yourself and others, and in your room that you walk in, you insist on joy for others as well. So I love that about you. So may we all use our language to build rooms where people stand taller.
Oh.
So thank you so much. This has been the Influence Equation. Until next time, speak with intention, tell the truth, and create change. When a woman names her story like you, the room changes shape.
Ah! from the bottom of my soul. Thank you, my friend. What a gift.
Thank
This
you.
is a treasure.